Hey guys, here we are, the Quiggin Out MMA Podcast, and I've got a fantastic celebrity this week. Somebody who has just been on every show and every corner of the world. The one, the only, BKFC Heavyweight Josh Watson. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
So, first and foremost, I'm just going to hit you with this. How many shows have you had to do this week?
Oh shit. I think this might be my 9th.
Jeez.
And I'm even pushing them back because, as you can tell, my throat. I've been sick for weeks, and it kind of kicked back up fight week, and my voice just takes the brunt of all of it. So if my voice was good, I'd just be knocking all these off like one after another. But I've had to like stretch them out because, struggling.
Dude, and I appreciate you even more for that, because you could just be like, just wait. But I mean, really, this last week, if people didn't know who you were, everybody knows who you are. People who have never watched Bare Knuckle are talking about this fight. Like, how crazy is
right?
That?
It's crazy. I think one of the funnier ones is because I work for a pretty big bar corporation, and I went into the corporate office, and they were like, the office manager and one of the other ladies like, oh, like whatever about my face. Out comes the HR woman, and she's like, runs up and she's like, hey, were you on the same fight card as Greg Hardy? And I'm like, yeah, I was. She's like, really? And I go, Renee, I'm the one that knocked him out. She's like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, don't just look at the headline, open it up and read an article maybe. So yeah, I'm sure that when she was blown away.
That's got to be the best thing, especially for HR to do that, to just be like, wait, were you on that?
Yeah.
Imagine how weird that would be in that moment to just be like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's kind of been like between that and having like just the random like person just walking up and being like, hey, didn't you? And I was like, yeah. And just kind of, it's been pretty cool.
And I mean, that's probably the exciting part, because I know there's rarely going to be a time where I'm going to ask a question 9 other people didn't ask, but like, how has it been like reshifting your schedule to do all these shows? Because again, you've already had some fights in BKFC, not high profile. And obviously this big one, everybody looked past you, and I'm just going to say it this way. You're a 40-year-old guy. It's Greg Hardy. Oh, he's going to come in. He's going to control the division, just like Ben Rothwell did with those illegal shots. I mean, what? I mean, what's it been like just trying to balance all this and dealing with,
not terrible. Not too terrible, mainly because how my work week is scheduled. I only had to come in and work on Sunday and Monday, and I've had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, and I get back to actually bartending tomorrow.
Bartending? Wow, nobody's gonna mess with you.
They don't.
All right, bartending. What's your drink of choice? Like, what's your go-to where you're like, this is what I drink because I hate having to make all these drinks for you guys?
Jack and ginger.
Straight into the point.
Like I've actually gotten a few different people that like have switched over. Like I had this one girl trying to be flirty. She's like, "What's your favorite drink to make?" And I'm like, "Jack and ginger." She's like, "Why?" I go, "Because that's what I fucking drink." Like that's why it's my favorite, because that's my drink. And she's like, all right, I'll try it. She's been coming to my bar for 2 years, and she drinks a Jack and ginger every single time.
Well,
totally switched her.
But it's Buffalo Trace and ginger. So I'm right there with you. So.
Hey, a lot of people don't know about ginger ale with their whiskey. Just makes it smoother.
It changes everything.
It does. Takes away that Coca-Cola gut rot.
Yeah. I was in Louisville, Kentucky last month to visit my dad, and I went to the Angels Envy. We did like the whole distillery tour, and literally like some of the things they taught us to do to change the taste of it without adding anything else. Like, oh, eat this beforehand, then drink this, or do this or do that. This is mind blowing. So ginger ale for me is something I've known, but
yeah. It's funny because like moving out to Vegas, people just had never heard of it. And I'll just go to a bar and I'll just look them up. Do you have ginger ale? And they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, no, do you fucking have ginger ale because you know you can't make it? And they're like, oh, well, I guess not. And I'm like, why the fuck would you even pretend that you can make it? Sprite with a splash of bitters and a splash of Coca-Cola it's the same color. So you might be able to trick an idiot, but it tastes nothing like fucking ginger ale.
No. And the secret is, to be honest, in my opinion, is diet ginger ale. Makes it taste way better.
Okay, I'll try that. I'll give that a whirl. My secret is it's got to be Canada Dry.
Oh, yeah, that's what this is. So
Canada Dry, you know. Canada doesn't do much right, but they can do ginger ale.
Oh, man, I didn't think we'd spend the first, 5 minutes talking about booze, but I'm all for it, man.
Well, two of the other interviews I did, I was drinking, when I was doing it, so it was perfect, you know? I got no shame, you know? I'm celebrating still.
And I think you absolutely should be.
I wish this wasn't tea.
We could just pretend it's not.
There you go, right? Right?
But you absolutely should be celebrating. I mean, you basically, got out of combat sports around, there was a time, 2011, then 2013, and then we don't see you for all these years. You just show up. To come in and do that in the little bit of time you have, what kind of changes have you made where, you're in a sport now where quote unquote older guys are still fighting and they're still fighting really well.
Right. Well, most of the older guys are fighting. They're coming from the MMA background, and they're able to just focus on one discipline. And that's where, I'm having the success because my old ass, I can't wrestle no more. I mean, I can, but it's going to hurt me. If I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I can do jiu-jitsu, but I'm not doing up, down, takedowns. No, let's go on the ground. I'm going to start on my ass, and I'm taking it easy. But focusing for a fight, if somebody was to offer me an MMA fight and go short notice, you have 5 days, I'd be like, okay, sure. If someone was to be fight the exact same person, but you have 8 weeks to get ready, I'd 100% turn it down.
What?
Yeah, because I know I'd get injured within 3 weeks, and I'd end up having to pull out. It's true.
5 days, I've got much less chance of screwing something up.
Yeah, 100%.
That is that's the first time I've ever heard anybody say that. Usually it's one time. No, not you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll touch on it at some point, but I've been talking about the end of my career and all that stuff. And one of the bigger things that I've been saying, and I was saying it after the McElroy fight, and obviously after this fight, it's not true, but I've been saying that I have several fights left in my heart, but I only have one fight camp left in my body.
Oh man.
And you know what I mean? And that's kind of like that whole, I'd rather take a fight on short notice and say, fuck it, rather than take the time and go through all those aches and pains and all that shit. Cause that's the part that sucks.
Yeah. Well, and that's crazy. And obviously we could talk about, I saw something today. I only saw it one time. And of course it was on the infinite Facebook feed where I'm never going to see it again. That you hit Greg Hardy so hard that he quit BKFC. And I was like,
yeah. So I had, yes, that was because we all know that he was looking past me, and obviously, yeah, and he wanted to fight Rothwell after. I mean, I get it, but I had heard, and this is purely speculation, rumored, I don't know for a fact, but I'd heard before he signed the contract with me, he renegotiated. I think the original contract was for 3 fights, and I guess he renegotiated, and it was just he'd only dropped it down to 1 fight. So somewhere in the back of his head, I think he was like, if this doesn't work out for me, I'm not doing it no more. But for him to talk so much about putting the whole entire weight class on notice and fighting Rothwell and all those things makes me kind of second guess it. But it doesn't, to see that, and I'm the one who posted that article.
Oh, okay.
It's on my story.
And it's so sad to see because obviously he's got his history, and we can look past all that. I think he's the only fighter in UFC history to get disqualified between rounds for using an inhaler. I never thought that was.
Did he get disqualified? Yeah. They let the fight keep going.
They DQ'd him for it.
But did the fight finish?
I'm pretty sure that's how it finished.
I thought the fight finished, and he might have gotten DQ'd after the fact.
Let's see. We're gonna put my.
I thought. Yeah, because I'm using my phone, so I can't.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot there was even a rest of the fight. Yeah, it got overturned afterwards because of that.
Right.
Still.
Well, and here was one of the funny parts too, is because to try to create waves and be extra fucking, I don't know, more publicity wise. Had he been a dick or had he been cocky personally to me at any point in time leading up to, I was going to hand him an inhaler during weigh-ins. But he wasn't. He was totally cool. He was chill, and because he was that way, I even more so fed into the niceness of it. When we were walking up the ramp to go to weigh-ins, I even gave him a little dap, we were cool. We were shaking hands. We were totally nice. And it's I would much rather stay cool with him and let him continue to forget about me.
Yep.
Because the moment I did something that would piss, and I say this lightly because I'm not I'm afraid of him being pissed off at me, but I want him to not think about me.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do something that was going to make him, think about my existence.
And that's exactly what he did.
Right. And that's why I chose not to do it.
And I'm I know that first punch, everybody the site that I work for, Combat Press, Phil Lambert's the photographer. He got a great shot, unfortunately, of a giant finger in your eye.
Right.
And in an MMA fight, you get the clinch, you take them down. Okay, you've got maybe 30 seconds to a minute, maybe. No, you just kept getting hit, going. Eventually, it'll come back, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That was the hard part, and it wasn't in that squabble in the very beginning. It was after that we separated, and it was his first jab that he threw. I thought he'd hit me straight normal. I didn't even think about it being an eye poke. I thought he got me with knuckles. So, yeah. So I mean, even at that point in time, I didn't even think about it being an illegal blow. So that made it, I don't know, made me have to suck it up. Whereas if I knew it was fingers in my eye, I could have been yo, he poked me.
Yeah, he poked
me. And, right. So, but whatever, that's the only part that I hated was how it made me extra flinchy and overreactive to his movements because I couldn't see him. And it made me look like a fucking spaz for over a minute where, to me, that made me look bad. So that's the only part I hated.
I mean, criticizing yourself for a win like that, if you really think about this, you Google the last BKFC event, the one you were at, the Knucklemania, you're not seeing one of the best knockouts I've ever seen by Lorenzo Hunt. You're not seeing the Segala leg break, which is still the weirdest shit I've ever seen.
I thought that's one of my things I hate about fighting in shoes, but keep going.
We'll talk about that. I want to elaborate that.
Yeah.
You're seeing what you did, and somebody wrote the dumbest title for the article, and I apologize to this person, but it just came off the wrong way. And it said something along the way they phrased it was just weird to title an article. They were trying to say that you knocked out somebody, but they didn't use the word knocked out. And now I'm not gonna be able to find it now that I want to see it. But
right.
It was just so funny. So talk about why you don't like shoes.
Well, they stick to the canvas, unless you're, because I don't know, like that mat, the canvas in the BKFC ring, the canvas is fine. It's the stickers on top of the canvas. That's what makes it sticky. Which is weird because when they're wet, that's the reverse. It makes them slippery. And if you like train in one of the rings or cages, whereas you have the mat and you have the stickers, the mat itself is fine, like when it gets wet, when you're like sweaty. But the moment you're on one of those stickers, like it's a fucking slip and slide. And obviously, whenever you're training, you want to train in the ring as much as you can, obviously. But every once in a while, classes are going on, you're trying to do stuff, and found ourselves hitting mitts in the just on the jiu-jitsu mats. And there was like a few different times, like once where I was doing like kind of like my Shark Tank / Fight Gone Bad. Like I went to step and like my front foot got like stuck and I like stumbled. One of the times my coach, when we were hitting mitts, he was circling to his right and he almost took it spill. Like it just, those shoes grip a whole lot more than just a bare foot does. And, like, I don't know. It's like every time back in MMA, when we would do wrestling day, we were encouraged to bring wrestling shoes because we are straight up wrestling. And I would remember if I'd have the sketchy guy grabbing on my legs, I just fell. Like I didn't fight it. I wasn't trying to like have somebody in practice trying to take me down, jumping on a knee and fucking my shit up. So I would just like let it go.
Yeah. And it's so funny you talk about like being in the element of, if you're going to fight in the ring, you want to prepare. And
right.
Your coaches over the years and fighters over the years. And I'll never forget Mike Pyle told me years and years ago. He said, if your coach yells at you during training, he has to yell at you during the fight. He said he can't talk to you softly during training and yell at you during the fight because we won't hear you.
Right. No, 100%. 100%.
I really didn't think about that. But being in that element, and like you said, the stickers on top of it, all those sponsors that are supposed to be like, oh, look at us. They're actually causing a detriment to you fighters.
Right. It's funny you say that because, I don't even know if you know, I train at the same gym as Pyle.
Yeah.
And I've never heard him say that, but I'm old school enough to where I know that for a fact. And after my first fight, I didn't really hear my coach at all. And my first bare knuckle. Mm-hmm. And when we started the second camp, I'm like, look, you need to start directing me like we're in the fight. You can't, because the gym is quiet and it's just us. You can't just nonchalant be like, step to your left. You have to yell it. You have to talk to me the same way that I can hear you. And, because I watch one of the groups that's at my gym, because like, for example, this weekend, there's like fucking 10 different people in our entire gym fighting. So all the coaches are spread super thin, and you'll have like that happen. And one of the fights, a girl was fighting and her husband was going to be her corner. And even when she was doing her rounds preparing, our coach John was calling out stuff to her and other people calling us to her. And her husband he was there, but he was quiet. I didn't say nothing. I didn't interject. And after the fight, I was, she lost. And I'm like, well, what happened? He was like, the number one thing she said, she could not hear me. And that's her husband. That's her husband who she listens to every single fucking day. And I'm like, I didn't want to say nothing, but you needed to tell it. Once you knew you were the one traveling, you needed to tell everybody to shut the fuck up or funnel the information through to you. Like, okay, you're the main coach. You know better than I do what she should do. Tell me so I can say it.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I even was talking about that same situation with my son doing his first jiu-jitsu competition. I was like, who do you want in your corner? Do you want, and I'm like, this does not bother me. If you want one of the coaches, if you want Shane, you want Jerry, you want anybody, tell me. I go, or do you want me in the corner? And I go, well, you have to listen to, or what you have to put into considerations. Who do you hear? When the room is loud, whose voice do you hear? And he's like, when I'm in class, I can hear you talking. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I want you in my corner. And I'm like, okay. So I was in his corner. And when we were doing stuff, granted, I mean, like, I know my shit when it comes to jiu-jitsu also. But every once in a while, like, you know, our main coach, Jerry, he'd be like, oh, tell him to do this. And he was the one telling me for me to voice it. So you don't have 3 different people yelling at a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same shit.
It's just a matter, and I love that you said that, because it's funny that I obviously brought up, you know, Mike Kyle in that, because that's something I'll never forget. But you see it so often where you'll see, you know, parents at jiu-jitsu competitions and the coach is telling the kid what to do. And there's a parent who also trains yelling stuff out. And that kid is going, do I listen to dad or do I listen? And I got submitted. Right there.
Yep. Completely.
How did he do? Did that tournament already?
Oh yeah, that was a while ago. That was his first one. He got second place in both gi and no gi. It was good.
He was listening.
Yep. And that's the difference too, is I know how my kid works. And obviously, whenever he's rolling, I see what he does. And every once in a while, I'll grab him and be like, all right, we're going to work on this. And some of my good moves that I do, I've rubbed off onto him, and he gets them pretty good too. And so we go back and forth with it. And I can, kind of like when I did high school wrestling, they didn't say, hey, do this move. They were like, put your left hand on his shoulder, put your right hand on, like, they would talk me through it. And I will talk my son through it, because with doing other sports, with my schedule with him, we don't get to get in there all the time. So I can't sit there and say, hey, do yada, yada pass. Mm-hmm. I'm like, underhook with your right arm, you know, push his knee to the ground, slide by, like, you know, get side control, like, just talk him through the moves so that he knows what he's doing, rather than me say a word and him trying to, like, compute what he's supposed to be doing.
Exactly. And in that moment, trying to figure out, did he say this or
right?
No, underhook. Underhook's very, like,
right.
Let's go.
Exactly. Yep.
And it's fascinating for me, because after, you know, I started watching MMA in like 2008, I stumbled across a WEC wreckage where it was Faber and Brown 2. And then
Brown went to my high school.
Did he really?
Brown went to my high school. Yeah. We go way back.
So fun fact. I'm gonna check this now, but I'm pretty sure if you look up Mike Brown's Instagram, his display picture, I took that.
Okay. And I went all right.
And it's amazing, because that was like 7 years ago, and he still has it. So I felt pretty good about that.
Yep. He congratulated me. We go way back. He originally started back with my original coach, Jay Jack, way back in Maine. Okay.
So it's been a while, but that's amazing to have that comeuppance and kind of watch that. And, you know, like I said, when I got to meet him, it was one of those things where I'm like, I know I'm here in a professional capacity, but seeing you guys fight, like those 3 fights or those 2 fights, you know, changed my life. And you know, it took until 2019 for me to actually commit to jiu-jitsu, because I'd be watching the fight and go, just get up. And I'm like,
you were that guy. You were that guy. You were that guy in the bar. Just get up.
Yeah, come on. I would do it at home, out in the world, like not so much, but it was
Buffalo Wild Wings, the worst place to watch a fight.
Oh my God. So when Buffalo Wild Wings became an official sponsor of the UFC, the one nearest to me stopped showing fights after 1 week.
Why was there fights? Wow. It's just annoying, because everybody thinks they know what the fuck's going on, and, you know, throw in the factor of Las Vegas. So you had a table, 1 out of every 6 people has done some sort of training. And then you have the other people who haven't done training being like, just stand up. And you have to look at it like something.
That was me 10 years ago. Let me preface that. But it took a long time for me to have the schedule and be able to do it. And I remember I said, I'm going to start. Right. I'm going to compete as a white belt. And then COVID happened. And we kept training with masks. Like literally had masks on. And guess what? Didn't work. Because the minute somebody pushed on your face, there went the mask, and we all went,
right.
Eh.
Yeah.
And
whatever.
I remember going, okay, I still got some time. And I remember going to promotions, being there for other people, and they called my name for my blue belt, and I was like, no, I don't want it yet. I was like, I have to compete.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun.
You do and you don't. I mean, sometimes schedule doesn't allow you to compete, and and that's the funny part is you get other people who you train with on a regular basis competing, and they go to the gym or they go to the competitions, they win out, and they dominate their weight classes. It's like, all right, cool. And then in the gym, you guys are even. It kind of, it lets them know you're on the same playing field. You're doing the same.
You and I both understand this. If we were to compete, we're in the 230 plus. There's no that's what happens. I'm about 270. So I'm like, people are going to come in and just crush me. I know it's going to happen. So I'm trying to get down closer to a light heavyweight just so I don't have that giant weight discrepancy there.
Yeah, but being 270, you must not have too many people that are much larger than you. And if you do, you got to use that athleticism to get around them.
Oh, did you just say athleticism?
I mean, assuming people hate me because I actually am athletic for being damn near 300 pounds, and it's frustrating for them because I'll like bust out cartwheels and front rolls, and like when Nicky Rod comes to town, like him and I always roll because I'll move for his ass, and I'm give him a good Gordon Ryan impression. I'll just squeeze the fuck out of him and just be extra strong.
Well, I know he's a little salty about that because I guess Gordon just pulled out. So
he did. I saw that earlier today too.
That sucked. You talk about big guys and being athletic. There's actually another BKFC heavyweight, Josh Sanchez, who lives nearby. We've trained together, and that man weighs about the same as me, and he has moved so fast that I've been like, are you wearing like a fat suit? Like, are you really not like that big? Because he'll move like a lightweight.
Right.
It's so crazy. So I think, and people have said it to me, they go, you don't look that fast. I go, thanks. I guess that's a compliment.
Right. Thanks. Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
yeah, no, I've always, like, when I came back from being, I think, my ACL surgery, I was, out of the gym for a while, and I started moving, and like one of the guys I ended up working with, I think he was like 170 pounds. So I had like 60, 70 pounds on him, and I've been big forever. So I like know how not to be heavy on somebody. And I was moving and like rolling and doing this and this and this. And he kind of like just stopped and was like scratching his head. And John Wood was like, moves pretty good for a fat boy, doesn't he? And I'm like, yeah, it is what it is.
And that's the thing, is that it's the only time where we take that as a compliment. They're like, you move pretty good.
Exactly.
For a big guy.
For a big guy, right.
That's my favorite thing. When somebody's getting ready for a competition, they're like, all right, we can't roll with you. You, definitely not you. And you're like, I know why, but it still hurts.
Right, exactly. So. Exactly. Well, I got pretty good control, so I'll have a lot of guys that are way smaller than me want to roll with me so that I can put extra pressure on them on top and, just be like a bastard. I'm not like tossing people. I'm not breaking arms. I'm like, I have really good control. So they enjoy it with working with me.
Listen, going 100 kilos when we're this big sucks for anybody.
We gotta wrap up here in the next few minutes. I gotta go pick him up from jiu-jitsu class.
That's exactly what I was expecting. Listen, I had one goal tonight, to not make this entire conversation only about you beating Greg Hardy, but realistically,
we did good.
It's a feather in the cap. You should be damn proud because, again, you get hit, they look like they're gonna stop it, and you got back up, and I've seen it before, and it was like, this is how much time you have left, or the fight's over. I know that was the mentality going into that. And
pretty much.
And stay down.
Stay down. Exactly.
Oh, man. So take this minute just to go ahead and thank your sponsors. Anybody, just thank everybody who got you to this point.
It's all my fans. It's my friends and my family. You know, they support me every single time. They're my motivators. They're the ones who push me. They're the ones who, you know, make me scared going into the ring because I don't want to disappoint them. You know, I don't care about getting knocked out. I care about disappointing people, and that's the truth.
No, and I respect that completely. You know, on behalf of us, you know, La Barba Cubana, amazing beard care, Fat Boy Jiu Jitsu, some great stuff for bigger guys. At Tim Makes Knives on Instagram, Bertzo's Bake Shop, and then of course Tales of a Concert Junkie, which if you guys watching the show know I never wear anything other than my own merch, but I really love these guys and the mental health and, you know, kind of awareness that they're trying to make, you know, supporting. I don't know if anybody could see this, but mental health awareness is kind of huge. So I really appreciate them. But Josh, we got to do this again. I think I just need to come out in Vegas and go with a guy my size. So
sounds good. Oh, fuck yeah, definitely. Sounds good.
All right, brother. On behalf of myself, Combat Press, Quiggin Out MMA Podcast, thank you so much, brother. And again,
thank you.
Huge win, man.
Thank you very, very, very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Hey, guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe, little bell, keep you up to date on all things Quiggin Out. Thanks again.